Hey everyone, welcome back to Stoic Saga, where we explore the deeper reasons behind the way we think, feel, and interact with the world. In today's episode, we're diving into a topic that many of us have experienced, but don't always understand: why you don't like being around people. Whether it's due to personality traits, past experiences, or deeper mental and emotional challenges, feeling uncomfortable in social situations is more common than you might think. In this episode, we'll break down 11 key reasons why socializing may not be your thing, from introversion to trust issues. By understanding these reasons, you'll gain insight into your behavior and discover ways to manage social situations more effectively without sacrificing your peace of mind. If you've ever wondered why you feel this way or how you can navigate these challenges, this episode is for you. If you find these insights helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who might relate to these experiences. Let's dive in and explore what could be making socializing more challenging for you. 1. Introversion. One of the most common reasons people don't enjoy being around others is introversion. If you identify as an introvert, it doesn't mean that you dislike people. It simply means that social interactions, especially in large groups, can be draining for you. Introverts typically find more energy and fulfillment in solitary activities or one-on-one conversations rather than in big social gatherings. As Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, once said, "Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." This perfectly describes the introvert's tendency to find comfort in their inner world. Think of it like this. For an introvert, attending a party with loud music and lots of people can feel like running a marathon. It takes a lot of mental and emotional energy to navigate social dynamics, make small talk, and stay engaged. After a while, introverts often feel the need to retreat, recharge, and get back to their own space, where they can process their thoughts and emotions without the distractions of a social environment. This isn't about disliking others. It's more about needing that quiet time to feel balanced. For example, let's say you're invited to a big family gathering. You might genuinely enjoy seeing your loved ones, but after a few hours you start feeling overwhelmed or mentally exhausted. This is a common experience for introverts. While extroverts gain energy from being around others, introverts lose energy in those same situations, which is why they often prefer smaller, more intimate settings. But here's the thing: being introverted isn't a bad thing, and it's definitely not something you need to change. It's just part of who you are. The challenge is learning to manage your energy and set boundaries that allow you to engage with others in ways that feel comfortable for you. This might mean limiting your time at social events or making sure you have plenty of downtime afterward to recharge. One way to navigate this is by scheduling recovery time after social events. If you know that a particular day will be socially demanding, plan some quiet time for yourself, either before or after the event. Whether it's reading, watching a movie, or simply being alone with your thoughts, giving yourself this space will help you feel more in control of your energy levels. In relationships, introversion can sometimes be misunderstood. People may think you're being distant or uninterested, but in reality, you just need more time to recharge. Open communication with friends, family, and partners can help them understand that your need for solitude isn't a reflection of how you feel about them. It's simply part of how you manage your energy. At the end of the day, Understanding that introversion is a natural part of who you are can help you embrace your preferences without guilt. As to Susan Cain, author of Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking, said, "There's zero correlation between being the best talker and having the best ideas." This serves as a reminder that introverts have incredible strengths, including deep thinking and creativity, and those qualities are just as valuable as being social. 2. Sensory processing sensitivity. Another reason you might not enjoy being around people is sensory processing sensitivity. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by loud noises, bright lights, or even strong smells in social settings, you could be a highly sensitive person, HSP. People with sensory processing sensitivity are more attuned to their environment and can quickly feel overstimulated by things that others might not even notice. This isn't a flaw, it's simply how your nervous system processes the world around you. Being highly sensitive can make social situations particularly challenging because, in addition to navigating conversations and social cues, you're also processing all the sensory input around you. For example, if you're at a crowded event, you might feel uncomfortable because of the noise level, the number of people, or even the texture of the environment, things that most people might not be bothered by. As Elaine Aron, the psychologist who coined the term highly sensitive person, explained, "Highly sensitive people feel things more deeply and react more intensely to their environment." For a person with sensory processing sensitivity, socializing can feel like trying to have a meaningful conversation while standing next to a speaker blasting loud music. The sensory overload makes it harder to focus on what's being said, leaving you feeling drained or anxious after even short interactions. This sensitivity to external stimuli is often misunderstood, and people may assume that you're being difficult or picky when in reality your brain is just wired differently. One example of how sensory processing sensitivity might affect you is if you're at a busy restaurant with a group of friends. While everyone else seems to be enjoying the atmosphere, you might feel distracted by the clinking of dishes, the chatter of other tables, and the bright overhead lights. As a result, you find it hard to concentrate on the conversation, and by the end of the night, you're mentally and physically exhausted. If you're a highly sensitive person, it's important to recognize your limits and find ways to manage your environment. This might mean choosing quieter, less crowded places for socializing or taking breaks when you start to feel overstimulated. Don't be afraid to advocate for your needs. For instance, if a particular setting is too overwhelming, suggest moving to a quieter space or stepping outside for some fresh air. In relationships, it's helpful to communicate your sensitivity to those close to you. Let them know that it's not about being antisocial, but rather about needing to control your environment to feel comfortable. Most people will be understanding once they realize that your reactions are tied to sensory overload rather than disinterest or moodiness. On a positive note, being highly sensitive also comes with strengths. People with sensory processing sensitivity tend to be more empathetic, noticing subtle emotional cues in others, and responding with care and compassion. You might also have a heightened appreciation for art, music, or nature, as your senses allow you to experience beauty in a deep, meaningful way. As Albert Einstein once said, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant." Your sensitivity, when managed well, can be a source of creativity and insight. In conclusion, sensory processing sensitivity is just one reason why you might not enjoy being around people, but it's something that can be managed with the right strategies. By understanding your own limits and making adjustments to your social life, you can find a balance that allows you to engage with others while still protecting your mental and emotional well-being. 3. Above average intelligence. Another reason you might not enjoy being around people is if you have above average intelligence. This doesn't mean that you think you're better than others. It's more about feeling disconnected from typical social conversations and activities. People with higher intelligence often find small talk or superficial interactions unfulfilling, and they crave deeper, more meaningful conversations. Albert Einstein once said, "Great spirits have always encountered violent opposition from mediocre minds." While this might sound a bit harsh, it reflects the reality that people who think deeply or critically about the world often feel out of place in everyday social settings. When you're someone who enjoys thinking about big ideas, philosophical questions, or complex problems, it can be frustrating to engage in the usual chit-chat that happens in social gatherings. You might find yourself wondering why people spend so much time talking about trivial things when there are more important or interesting topics to discuss. This can lead to feelings of boredom or even alienation in social settings, making you prefer to be alone or around a select few individuals who share your intellectual curiosity. Imagine attending a party where everyone is discussing the latest reality TV show or gossiping about mutual acquaintances. While others might be fully engaged in the conversation, you might find it hard to relate, and your mind might wander to more stimulating topics like science, history, or personal growth. It's not that you don't care about people, it's just that your brain is wired to crave more intellectually stimulating content. For people with above-average intelligence, it's common to feel misunderstood in social settings. You might feel like you're speaking a different language when trying to engage in deeper conversations, and this can lead to a sense of isolation. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." In social settings, this might mean recognizing that you can't control the level of depth in conversations with others, but you can control how you respond and whether you choose to engage or politely disengage. If you find yourself in this situation often, it's important to seek out environments where you can have more meaningful discussions. This might mean joining book clubs, intellectual meetups, or online forums where people discuss topics that interest you. Finding your tribe of like-minded individuals can help bridge the gap between feeling isolated and feeling connected. Just because you don't fit into typical social settings doesn't mean you can't find fulfilling relationships with others who share your passions. It's also helpful to practice patience and understanding with people who may not share your intellectual interests. Not everyone is going to want to discuss philosophy or world issues at a social event, and that's okay. By accepting that not every conversation needs to be profound, you can still find joy in lighter interactions without feeling frustrated or disconnected. Seneca wisely said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This reminds us that sometimes our discomfort in social situations is more about our own expectations than about the people around us. In relationships, having above-average intelligence can sometimes create a gap if your partner or friends don't share your intellectual interests. However, with open communication, it's possible to find a balance where you respect each other's differences. You might have a friend who loves discussing movies or fashion while you prefer to talk about philosophy. By finding common ground and accepting that not every interaction needs to be deeply intellectual, you can still enjoy meaningful connections. Finally, remember that intelligence comes in many forms. While you may have a gift for analytical thinking or problem solving, others might excel in emotional intelligence or creativity. Appreciating the different types of intelligence can help you feel more connected to others, even if they don't share your particular intellectual strengths. In conclusion, having above-average intelligence can sometimes make socializing difficult, especially if you crave deeper conversations and intellectual stimulation. However, by seeking out environments that nurture your interests and practicing patience with others, you can find a balance between meaningful connections and personal fulfillment. Fourth, mental health challenges. Mental health challenges can be a major reason why some people don't enjoy being around others. Conditions like anxiety, depression, or social phobia can make social interactions feel overwhelming, exhausting, or even frightening. While everyone experiences occasional discomfort in social situations, mental health issues can amplify these feelings to the point where socializing becomes something you actively avoid. The Stoics believed in facing life's challenges head-on, but they also understood the importance of managing what's within our control. Epictetus said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." For people dealing with mental health issues, managing social anxiety or depression is about learning how to respond to these internal struggles with compassion and self-care. For example, if you experience social anxiety, the mere thought of attending a party or social gathering might trigger feelings of dread or panic. Your mind may start racing with thoughts like, "What if I say something stupid?" or "What if people don't like me?" These thoughts can spiral, leading you to avoid the event altogether, even if part of you wants to attend. The Stoics would encourage you to confront these fears by focusing on what you can control, your actions and your mindset. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." While it's important to acknowledge your mental health challenges, learning to take small steps toward managing social situations can help reduce anxiety over time. Depression, on the other hand, can make socializing feel like an insurmountable task. When you're struggling with depression, the idea of engaging with others may feel exhausting, and you might find yourself withdrawing from friends and family. In these moments, it's crucial to recognize that isolating yourself can often worsen the symptoms of depression. Seneca said, "It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness." This Stoic perspective reminds us that while it's difficult to push through depressive feelings, taking small steps toward connection, whether it's texting a friend or going for a walk with someone, can help break the cycle of isolation. For people dealing with mental health challenges, it's important to remember that socializing doesn't have to follow the traditional model of large gatherings or parties. If being around a lot of people feels overwhelming, you can start by meeting with one close friend or engaging in low-pressure activities like going for a coffee or taking a walk. Finding social situations that feel manageable can help you maintain connections without feeling overwhelmed by the demands of larger social settings. One way to navigate mental health challenges in social situations is by setting boundaries. If you know that spending too much time in a social environment will drain your energy, it's okay to politely excuse yourself when you've reached your limit. You might say, "I've enjoyed this, but I need to head out to recharge." Most people will understand, especially if they know you're managing anxiety or depression. Another important aspect of managing mental health challenges in social situations is practicing self-compassion. It's easy to get frustrated with yourself if you feel like you're not keeping up with others socially. But Stoicism teaches us to be patient with ourselves. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer that there must be time." This means that healing and progress take time, and you should be gentle with yourself during this process. It's okay to take small steps and celebrate even the smallest victories, like attending a short event or reaching out to a friend. In relationships, mental health challenges can sometimes create misunderstandings, especially if your loved ones don't fully understand what you're going through. Open communication is key. Let your friends and family know when you need space, but also make an effort to explain that your need for space isn't a reflection of how you feel about them. It's about managing your mental well-being. Most people will appreciate the honesty and will be more understanding when you set these boundaries. It's also important to seek support when needed, whether through therapy, support groups, or talking with trusted friends. Having a support system in place can make social interactions more manageable. You don't have to face mental health challenges alone, and getting the help you need is a sign of strength, not weakness. The Stoics believed in the value of community and the importance of seeking guidance when necessary. Seneca said, "The greatest wealth is a poverty of desires." In this context, it can mean that finding peace within yourself through understanding and support is more valuable than external success or approval. In conclusion, mental health challenges like anxiety, depression, or social phobia can make socializing difficult, but they don't have to isolate you completely. By setting boundaries, practicing self-compassion, and seeking support, you can find ways to navigate social situations in a way that feels more comfortable and manageable. 5. Asperger's syndrome. Another reason some people may not enjoy being around others is Asperger's syndrome, a condition that falls under the autism spectrum. People with Asperger's, often referred to as having high-functioning autism, tend to have difficulty with social interactions, understanding non-verbal cues, and navigating unspoken social rules. This can make being in social settings feel overwhelming or confusing, and they might prefer solitude or structured environments where they know what to expect. Temple Grandin, a well-known author and speaker with autism, said, "I am different, not less." This quote highlights the idea that people with Asperger's think and experience the world in unique ways, but that doesn't make their experience any less valuable. For someone with Asperger's, conversations that seem effortless to others can feel like navigating a maze of unwritten rules. They might struggle with reading facial expressions, body language, or tone of voice, making it harder to understand how others are feeling or what they're expecting in a conversation. This can lead to awkward interactions, misunderstandings, or feelings of isolation. It's not that people with Asperger's dislike socializing, they simply experience it differently and might find it more challenging to engage in casual, unstructured conversations. One example of how Asperger's can affect socializing is in group settings. Imagine being at a party where everyone is chatting in small groups, switching topics quickly, and using a lot of subtle social cues like facial expressions or inside jokes. For someone with Asperger's, trying to keep up with the flow of conversation can feel overwhelming, and they might find it hard to jump into discussions or know when it's their turn to speak. This can lead to feelings of frustration or exhaustion, making them prefer to avoid social situations altogether. People with Asperger's often prefer direct communication and structured interactions. They might do better in one-on-one conversations or activities that have clear rules and expectations, like a book club, or a hobby group, where the focus is on a shared interest rather than free-flowing conversation. In these settings, they can engage more comfortably without the pressure of navigating complex social dynamics. It's important to note that Asperger's also comes with many strengths. People with Asperger's often have deep focus, strong attention to detail, and intense passion for their interests. These qualities can make them excel in areas like science, art, or technology. Albert Einstein is often thought to have had traits associated with Asperger's, and his ability to focus deeply on complex problems is a testament to the unique strengths that come with this condition. In relationships, people with Asperger's might struggle with expressing emotions in the ways that others expect. This doesn't mean they don't care deeply. It just means they express their feelings differently. For example, someone with Asperger's might show love by doing practical things for their partner, like fixing something around the house, rather than expressing it verbally. Understanding and accepting these differences in communication can help bridge gaps in relationships. For people with Asperger's, finding social settings that align with their strengths and preferences is key. They might feel more comfortable in environments where there's a shared focus, like volunteering for a cause they care about or participating in a structured event where social interactions are predictable. It's also helpful for them to communicate their needs to friends and family. Letting others know that certain social situations can be overwhelming allows for more understanding and flexibility. Additionally, therapy or social skills training can be beneficial for people with Asperger's. These programs can help them develop strategies for navigating social situations more comfortably, such as learning how to read social cues or practicing conversational skills. However, it's also important for those around them to respect their need for space and to avoid pressuring them into social settings that feel too intense. In conclusion, Asperger's syndrome can make social interactions feel challenging or exhausting, but it also comes with unique strengths. By finding environments that align with their preferences, seeking support when needed, and practicing open communication with loved ones, people with Asperger's can navigate social situations in ways that feel more manageable and fulfilling. As Temple Grandin reminds us, being different doesn't mean being less. It simply means seeing the world through a unique and valuable lens. 6. Low self-esteem. Low self-esteem can be a major reason why some people avoid being around others. When you struggle with how you see yourself, social interactions can become overwhelming. You might feel like you're not good enough, smart enough, or interesting enough, and this can lead to constant worry about how others perceive you. The Stoics believed in focusing on inner strength and self-worth, rather than relying on external validation. Epictetus said, "Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems." This reminds us that often the insecurities we carry are more about our perceptions than the reality of how others see us. For someone with low self-esteem, the fear of judgment or rejection can be crippling. You might constantly second-guess yourself, worrying that others will criticize you or that you'll say something wrong. These thoughts can create a mental loop that keeps you from fully engaging in conversations or social events. Instead of enjoying the moment, you're trapped in your head, analyzing every word you say and every response you get. This can make socializing feel like a test you're constantly failing, even when others aren't judging you nearly as harshly as you're judging yourself. One example of how low self-esteem can affect social interactions is in group settings. Imagine you're in a meeting at work and you have an idea to share. Instead of speaking up, you might hesitate, thinking, "What if it's a bad idea? What if everyone thinks I'm stupid?" This hesitation can lead to missed opportunities and reinforce the belief that you're not capable of contributing meaningfully. Over time, these patterns of thought can make you avoid group settings altogether because they feel too risky for your self-esteem. Low self-esteem can also lead to avoiding close relationships out of fear that others will see your flaws. You might keep people at a distance thinking, if they really got to know me, they wouldn't like me. This self-protective mechanism keeps you from forming deeper connections, but it also keeps you from experiencing the joy and support that come with close friendships and relationships. Marcus Aurelius said, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject." This can be applied to self-worth. Often, we worry too much about what others think, even though their opinions don't define our value. Improving self-esteem is a gradual process, but it starts with changing how you talk to yourself. The Stoics taught the importance of inner dialogue and self-reflection. Seneca said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." This means that challenges, including social interactions, are opportunities to prove to yourself that you're capable and worthy. Instead of avoiding them, face them with the understanding that making mistakes or feeling uncomfortable is part of the process of growth. Another way to combat low self-esteem in social situations is to focus on the value you bring to the table. Instead of worrying about how others perceive you, ask yourself, what can I contribute to this conversation or situation? Shifting your mindset from one of self-criticism to one of contribution can help you feel more confident and engaged. For example, if you're at a social event, instead of worrying about saying the wrong thing, focus on being a good listener or asking thoughtful questions. This takes the pressure off of you and shifts your attention to connecting with others. In relationships, low self-esteem can lead to a cycle of self-sabotage. You might push people away, thinking that they'll eventually reject you anyway. Or you might cling too tightly, seeking constant reassurance because you don't believe in your own worth. It's important to recognize these patterns and work on building a healthier sense of self. Therapy, self-help books, or simply practicing self-affirmation can help you start to see your value more clearly. One technique that can help is using a gratitude journal, but instead of listing things you're grateful for externally, list qualities about yourself that you're proud of. It could be anything from being a good friend to having a talent for cooking, or even just being patient. By consistently focusing on your strengths, you gradually rewire your brain to think more positively about yourself. As Epictetus said, "It is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments concerning them." By changing your judgment about yourself, you can change your experience of social interactions. In conclusion, low self-esteem can make socializing feel like a challenge, but it's possible to improve your self-image with patience and practice. The Stoics remind us to focus on our inner worth and to be less concerned with external judgments. By changing how you talk to yourself, recognizing your strengths, and facing social situations with the intent to grow, you can gradually build more confidence and ease in your interactions with others. 7. Lack of social skills. A lack of social skills can be another reason why some people don't enjoy being around others. If you've ever found it difficult to read social cues, start or maintain conversations, or understand the flow of social interactions, you're not alone. Many people struggle with these skills, and it can make socializing feel awkward, uncomfortable, or even stressful. While some individuals seem to pick up social skills naturally, others need more time and practice to feel confident in social settings. The Stoics remind us that mastery comes from effort and repetition. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." In the context of social skills, this means that with patience and practice, anyone can improve and feel more at ease in social situations. A lack of social skills can manifest in several ways. You might struggle with small talk, finding it difficult to know what to say or how to keep a conversation going. Or perhaps you feel unsure about when it's appropriate to join a conversation or how to gracefully exit one. Social settings that involve unspoken rules, like knowing when to laugh, how to interpret sarcasm, or when to offer a handshake, can feel confusing or overwhelming. Imagine being at a networking event where people are mingling and exchanging ideas. If you're unsure about how to introduce yourself or start a conversation, you might find yourself standing on the sidelines, feeling disconnected. Others may seem to effortlessly engage with one another, while you're left wondering, how do they do it? This can lead to feelings of frustration and may even cause you to avoid similar situations in the future. However, social skills, like any other skill, can be learned and improved over time. One of the first steps is understanding that social interactions are not about perfection, they're about connection. People aren't expecting you to be flawless in conversation. They're looking for genuine connection, even if it's a bit awkward at times. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." This reminds us that socializing isn't about trying to impress others or striving for perfection, but about being comfortable with who you are and building connections based on authenticity. For those who struggle with social skills, practice is key. Start by focusing on small, manageable interactions. If you find large groups intimidating, begin by engaging in one-on-one conversations or small group settings. Practice asking open-ended questions to keep conversations flowing, and don't be afraid to pause and listen. People appreciate being heard, and active listening can take some of the pressure off of you to constantly keep the conversation going. As Dale Carnegie said in his famous book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. Another helpful strategy is to observe social interactions around you. Pay attention to how others navigate conversations, respond to body language, and manage social cues. By observing people who seem to have strong social skills, you can pick up on subtle techniques that you can then practice in your own interactions. Over time, these skills will start to feel more natural. It's also important to remember that social skills are a two-way street. If you're worried about not knowing what to say, try shifting the focus from yourself to the person you're talking to. Ask questions about their interests, opinions, or experiences. Most people love talking about themselves, and showing genuine curiosity can help you connect with others more easily. Epictetus taught that we should focus on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and how we approach situations. In social interactions, you can control your curiosity and willingness to engage, even if you don't always have the perfect response. In relationships, a lack of social skills can sometimes create misunderstandings or miscommunications. For example, you might miss subtle cues that your partner or friend is upset, or you might struggle to express your own feelings in a way that feels clear and direct. Open communication and a willingness to learn can help bridge these gaps. Let your loved ones know that you're working on improving your social skills and ask for their patience and feedback. Most people will appreciate the effort and will be happy to support you on your journey. One tool that can help is role-playing or practicing social scenarios with a trusted friend or family member. This allows you to experiment with different conversation techniques in a low-pressure setting. Over time, these rehearsed interactions will help you feel more prepared and confident in real social situations. In conclusion, a lack of social skills can make socializing feel challenging, but with practice, observation, and a focus on connection over perfection, you can improve your abilities and feel more comfortable in social settings. The Stoics remind us that mastery is a process, and by taking small steps and learning from each interaction, you can gradually build the confidence and skills needed to engage more fully with others. 8. Stress-induced social avoidance. Stress-induced social avoidance is another reason why some people prefer to stay away from others. When life gets overwhelming, the idea of interacting with people can feel like an additional burden, rather than something enjoyable. Stress, whether from work, personal issues, or health problems, can make social situations feel exhausting, leading you to avoid them altogether. The Stoics emphasized the importance of managing stress and focusing on what is within our control. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This means that a lot of the stress we experience comes from our thoughts about a situation rather than the situation itself. When you're stressed, even the simplest social interactions can seem like too much to handle. When you're dealing with high levels of stress, your body and mind go into survival mode. In this state, your brain is focused on handling immediate threats or pressures, leaving little energy for casual socializing. You might find that after a long day at work or dealing with personal challenges, the last thing you want to do is go to a social gathering or engage in conversation. It's not that you don't care about the people in your life, but the stress takes over, making socializing feel like just another task on a long list of responsibilities. For example, imagine you're facing a major work deadline. You're already feeling stretched thin, and then a friend invites you to a get-together. While you might normally enjoy spending time with your friend, in this moment, the thought of having to be on and engage in conversation feels overwhelming. You might start thinking, "I just don't have the energy for this right now," and decline the invitation. This kind of avoidance can become a habit, especially when stress becomes a constant presence in your life. Social avoidance due to stress can also create a cycle. The more you avoid social situations, the more isolated you may feel, which can increase feelings of stress and anxiety. It's important to recognize when stress is driving your social behavior and to find healthy ways to manage it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." This Stoic teaching reminds us that we have the power to reframe our thoughts about stress and how it affects our social life. One way to combat stress-induced social avoidance is by setting realistic expectations for yourself. If you know that certain social events will be draining, it's okay to limit your time there or to say no if it feels like too much. Instead of feeling guilty for not attending every social function, recognize that taking care of your mental health is a priority. You can still stay connected with friends and family in smaller, less demanding ways, such as sending a message or having a quick phone call when you have the energy. Another helpful strategy is to engage in stress-reducing activities before or after social interactions. This could be anything from going for a walk, practicing deep breathing, or meditating. By calming your mind and body, you can make social situations feel less overwhelming. The Stoics were big advocates of self-reflection and mindfulness. Epictetus taught, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." This means focusing on what you can control, your stress levels, your mindset, and letting go of what you can't control, like the demands of others. In relationships, stress-induced social avoidance can sometimes create misunderstandings. Your loved ones might think you're pulling away because you don't care about them, when in reality, you're just overwhelmed and need some time to recharge. Open communication is key. Let your friends and family know that stress is affecting your ability to socialize and that it's not a reflection of your feelings toward them. Most people will appreciate the honesty and be more understanding of your need for space. It's also important to address the root cause of your stress. If work or personal issues are consistently making it hard for you to engage with others, it might be time to reassess your priorities or seek support. Therapy, coaching, or simply talking to a trusted friend can help you find ways to manage stress more effectively, so it doesn't spill over into your social life. In conclusion, stress-induced social avoidance is a common issue that many people face, especially in today's fast-paced world. While it's important to recognize when stress is causing you to withdraw from social situations, it's also essential to find healthy ways to manage that stress so it doesn't lead to long-term isolation. By setting boundaries, practicing stress reduction techniques, and communicating openly with loved ones, you can find a balance between taking care of yourself and staying socially connected. 9. Traumatic experiences. Traumatic experiences can significantly impact how you feel about being around people. If you've experienced trauma, especially in social or relational contexts, it's completely understandable that you might avoid certain interactions or groups of people. Trauma, whether it's from past relationships, abuse, bullying, or any other deeply hurtful experience, can leave emotional scars that make you more cautious and withdrawn in social settings. The Stoics believed in confronting adversity with courage, but they also understood the importance of healing and growth. Seneca said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." This quote is particularly meaningful when dealing with trauma because it recognizes that simply showing up and facing the world can be a brave act. Trauma can cause you to develop a heightened sense of alertness, always on guard for potential threats, even in situations where none exist. This can make socializing feel unsafe, as your brain might interpret new interactions as risky or overwhelming. For example, someone who has experienced emotional or physical abuse in a past relationship might find it difficult to trust others or feel comfortable in social settings, constantly worrying about being hurt again. Even seemingly harmless situations can trigger memories of the trauma, causing feelings of anxiety or fear. One common result of trauma is hypervigilance, where you're constantly scanning your environment for signs of danger. In a social context, this might mean feeling on edge in crowds or group gatherings, always anticipating conflict or judgment. This state of hyper-awareness can be exhausting, making you prefer isolation or only interacting with a very small, trusted circle of people. Epictetus taught that our suffering comes not from events themselves, but from how we interpret them. While this is true, it's also important to acknowledge that trauma changes how we interpret the world, and healing is a gradual process. For someone who has experienced trauma, even well-meaning social interactions can feel overwhelming. You might find yourself avoiding events like parties, family gatherings, or even casual coffee dates because they remind you of past situations where you felt vulnerable or unsafe. This avoidance isn't about disliking people. It's about protecting yourself from emotional pain. An example of this might be someone who was bullied in school. Even as an adult, they might find it difficult to join group settings like office parties or team-building activities because they associate groups with the bullying they endured. The fear of being judged, ridiculed, or excluded can linger long after the actual bullying has stopped, shaping how they navigate social situations for years to come. The Stoics believed in the importance of facing challenges, but they also valued self-awareness and growth. If trauma is keeping you from engaging with others, it's important to give yourself permission to heal at your own pace. Trauma is not something you just get over. Healing requires time, patience, and sometimes professional support. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This Stoic wisdom teaches that even the challenges we face, like trauma, can become the path to our growth, but only if we approach them with care and self-compassion. One way to start healing from trauma and feel more comfortable in social situations is by seeking therapy or counseling. Trauma therapy, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, or EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, can help reframe traumatic memories and reduce the emotional charge they carry. By working through the trauma, you can begin to rebuild trust in yourself and others, allowing you to slowly re-engage with social life. In relationships, trauma can sometimes lead to misunderstandings, especially if the people around you aren't aware of your history. You might be more guarded or hesitant to form close connections, and this can be misinterpreted as disinterest or coldness. Open communication can help. Letting your friends or partner know that you're working through trauma can create a space of understanding where they can offer support without pushing you beyond your limits. It's also helpful to set boundaries in social situations. If certain environments trigger your trauma, it's okay to avoid them or to limit your time there. You don't need to force yourself into uncomfortable situations just to fit in. Instead, focus on creating safe spaces for yourself where you feel more in control. For example, you might choose to meet with a close friend one-on-one instead of going to a large party, or you might attend social events for a shorter period of time, giving yourself the freedom to leave when you need to. In conclusion, traumatic experiences can make being around people feel difficult or even terrifying, but healing is possible. The Stoics remind us to approach our struggles with courage and self-compassion. By seeking support, setting boundaries, and giving yourself the time to heal, you can begin to re-engage with social life in a way that feels safe and manageable. Remember, healing is not linear, and it's okay to take small steps toward rebuilding your trust in others. 10. Fear of intimacy. Fear of intimacy can be a significant reason why some people don't like being around others. When you fear intimacy, it's not just about romantic relationships. It can also affect friendships and family connections. The fear of getting close to someone, whether emotionally or physically, can stem from past experiences of hurt, rejection, or betrayal. The Stoics teach us the importance of self-awareness and facing our fears, but they also recognize the complexity of human relationships. Seneca said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." This fear of intimacy is often rooted in the imagination, where we anticipate being hurt again, even if the present situation is safe. For someone who fears intimacy, getting too close to others feels risky because it opens up the possibility of being vulnerable. Letting people in means allowing them to see your flaws, insecurities, and past wounds. You might worry that once someone sees the real you, they won't like what they find, leading to rejection or abandonment. To protect yourself, you might keep others at a distance, avoiding deeper emotional connections. This can lead to a pattern of superficial relationships or even isolation, where you avoid socializing altogether to prevent any potential emotional pain. One example of how the fear of intimacy manifests is in friendships. You might have acquaintances or casual friends, but as soon as the relationship starts getting deeper, where personal stories or emotions are shared, you begin to pull away. You might cancel plans, stop returning texts, or simply create emotional distance by not sharing much about yourself. This avoidance of closeness protects you from potential rejection, but it also prevents you from experiencing the joy and support that come with deep, meaningful connections. Fear of intimacy can also be tied to past trauma, such as emotional or physical abuse, infidelity, or abandonment. If you've been hurt by someone you trusted, it makes sense that you would be cautious about letting others get close to you again. The pain of betrayal or rejection can leave emotional scars that take time to heal. Epictetus taught that while we cannot control others' actions, we can control how we respond to them. This means that while you may have been hurt in the past, your response today can be one of cautious openness rather than complete withdrawal. The Stoics believed in the importance of building strong relationships, but they also understood that these relationships should be based on mutual respect and virtue. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." This Stoic wisdom encourages us to engage in relationships fully and authentically, even if there's a risk of being hurt. It reminds us that true intimacy, whether in friendships, family relationships, or romantic partnerships, requires vulnerability and trust. Overcoming the fear of intimacy doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process that involves learning to trust others and, perhaps more importantly, learning to trust yourself. Start by being honest with yourself about where the fear comes from. Is it rooted in past experiences, or is it based on a fear of future pain? Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." This can be applied to intimacy. Often, our fear of intimacy comes from craving certainty and control in relationships, which is impossible. Accepting that relationships come with uncertainty can help you embrace closeness without letting fear dominate your actions. Another important step is practicing vulnerability in small, manageable ways. You don't have to dive into deep emotional conversations with everyone you meet, but you can start by sharing a little more of yourself with someone you trust. Over time, as you experience positive reactions from others, you'll begin to see that intimacy doesn't always lead to rejection or pain. In fact, it can lead to stronger bonds and a deeper sense of connection with those around you. In relationships, fear of intimacy can lead to misunderstandings or a lack of emotional closeness. If your partner or friend doesn't understand why you're pulling away, they might assume you're disinterested or uninvested. Open communication is key here. Letting the people in your life know that you struggle with intimacy can help them be more understanding and patient as you work through your fears. Most importantly, it creates a space where they can support you rather than feeling hurt by your distance. It's also helpful to set boundaries that make you feel safe while still allowing for connection. For example, you might set limits on how often you engage in emotionally intense conversations or take time to recharge after spending time with loved ones. These boundaries allow you to manage your fear of intimacy while still building relationships at a pace that feels comfortable for you. In conclusion, fear of intimacy can make it difficult to form close relationships, but it's a fear that can be overcome with time, patience, and self-awareness. The Stoics remind us that while vulnerability comes with risks, it's also the key to deeper connections and a more fulfilling life. By practicing small acts of vulnerability, setting boundaries, and communicating openly with those you trust, you can begin to let go of the fear and embrace the rewards that come with intimacy. 11. Trust issues. Trust issues are another major reason why some people avoid being around others. When you've been hurt or betrayed in the past, it can be difficult to trust again, leading to a natural tendency to keep your distance from people. Trust, once broken, can be hard to rebuild, and the fear of being let down again can prevent you from forming new relationships or deepening existing ones. The Stoics understood the importance of trust and resilience in relationships, but also recognized the need for caution. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In this context, it means that instead of letting trust issues consume you, strive to live with integrity and openness, even in the face of past betrayals. Trust issues often stem from past experiences where someone close to you, whether a friend, family member, or romantic partner, betrayed your trust. This betrayal might have been in the form of dishonesty, infidelity, or even emotional abandonment. After such experiences, it's natural to become more guarded, questioning the intentions of those around you. You might find yourself constantly wondering if people are being genuine or if they have hidden motives, leading to an overall sense of unease in social situations. For example, imagine you've had a close friend who betrayed your confidence by sharing something personal you told them in private. After that experience, you might struggle to open up to new friends or even to the same friend, always worrying that your trust could be violated again. This can make social interactions feel risky, as you're constantly calculating whether someone is trustworthy enough to let into your life. Over time, this hesitation to trust can lead to isolation or superficial relationships, where you never feel fully connected to others. Trust issues can manifest in a variety of ways. You might find yourself overly critical of others, looking for signs that they're not being truthful or loyal. Alternatively, you might avoid close relationships altogether, preferring to stay on the surface in social interactions rather than risking the emotional investment required for deeper connections. While this approach might protect you from future hurt, it can also prevent you from experiencing the positive aspects of trust, such as support, love, and companionship. The Stoics believed in facing challenges with courage, and trust is no exception. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." This means that when you approach life with the assumption that everyone will eventually betray you, you close yourself off to the possibility of building genuine, trustworthy relationships. While it's important to be cautious and discerning, living in constant suspicion prevents you from experiencing the fullness of human connection. One way to start rebuilding trust is by setting small, achievable goals for yourself in relationships. Instead of expecting yourself to trust others fully right away, focus on developing trust in small steps. For instance, you might start by sharing a minor personal detail with a new friend and observing how they handle it. If they respect your confidence, you can gradually build more trust over time. This approach allows you to protect yourself while also giving others the opportunity to prove that they are trustworthy. It's also important to acknowledge that not everyone will betray your trust. The Stoics remind us that while people are fallible, they are also capable of great goodness. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." This Stoic wisdom teaches that it takes bravery to trust others, but that this courage can also set you free from the fear of betrayal. By practicing discernment, trusting people who have shown themselves to be reliable while being cautious with those who haven't, you can begin to rebuild your confidence in relationships. In relationships, trust issues can cause misunderstandings or conflict, especially if your partner or friends don't understand why you're so guarded. Open communication is essential. Let the people in your life know that trust is something you struggle with and explain the reasons behind it. Most people will be empathetic and willing to work with you as you navigate your trust issues, especially if they understand that your hesitation comes from past experiences, not from a lack of care for them. It's also helpful to set clear boundaries. If trust is something you're working on, it's okay to take things slowly and establish what makes you feel safe. For example, you might let your friends or partner know that you need time before sharing certain personal details, or that you prefer to move at a slower pace when it comes to emotional closeness. Boundaries give you a sense of control and allow you to engage with others without feeling overwhelmed by the pressure to trust immediately. In conclusion, trust issues can make it hard to be around others, but with patience, discernment, and clear boundaries, you can begin to rebuild your ability to trust. The Stoics remind us that while trust requires vulnerability, it also brings the reward of deeper, more fulfilling connections. By taking small steps toward trust and practicing open communication, you can protect yourself while also allowing for the possibility of genuine, meaningful relationships. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the 11 reasons why you don't like being around people. I hope these insights helped you better understand your own tendencies and gave you some ideas on how to manage social situations in a way that feels more comfortable and authentic to you. Remember, there's no right or wrong way to interact with the world. What matters most is that you're true to yourself and your needs. Whether you're dealing with introversion, trust issues, or past trauma, it's important to give yourself the space and compassion to heal and grow at your own pace. Socializing isn't a one-size-fits-all experience, and by setting boundaries, practicing self-awareness, and taking small steps, you can find the balance that works best for you. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to Stoic Saga for more wisdom and strategies to help you live a more grounded and fulfilled life. Share this video with anyone who might need to hear these messages today. Until next time, stay strong, stay true to yourself, and keep embracing the Stoic way of life.